Well, it looks like Donald J. Trump might be losing his dang mind, thinking the nation's going to sit around and use the Federal Reserve note after the U.S. has weaponized the currency against them. So in the latest news, Trump warns the BRICS nations against replacing the U.S. dollar. Clearly, he expects nations to forget about the fact that there's not much purchasing power left in the same currency that he's trying to force the world to use still. So it looks like 2025 is going to be a showdown over the continuation of the de-dollarization push by the BRICS nations. Let's talk about this. All right, so I want to take a quick minute, share some thoughts in reference to a recent article just surfaced based upon a tweet or a social media post from Donald J. Trump in reference to what he's anticipating and acting on the BRICS nations if they decide to build an alternative to the U.S. dollar. So once again, from the U.S. perspective, of course, that means more dollar-centric policies moving forward, starting January 20th of next year. But then again, clearly he has to have seen the writing on the wall well before Joe Biden, and especially during his term, of nations being tired of being subjected to U.S. sanctions and that unipolar world order that the West has been using and leveraging for the last almost a century now. So in this little quick update, I'm going to share my 2 cents as to why this type of rhetoric will definitely shoot the U.S. policymakers in the foot, because the cat's already out the bag and nations have already made their choices. Just look at what's happening in gold and silver over the last 6+ months. And so clearly this is going to be a shaky and rocky roller coaster ride heading in the next couple of months as to how nations view the dollar and the policies that come about as a result of all these tariffs that, in my personal opinion, does not favor the U.S. one bit. But as always, if you guys want to see more of these little short, quick takes, definitely hit the thumbs up button, drop a comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this subject matter. Feel free to add to the conversation down in the chats. And then if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you're always notified whenever I put out these little short, quick takes on the recent developments that I think is worth touching on. And so let's jump right into it. So as you can see on the screen right here, this is a post posted at 1:02 today on X, but it's a screenshot from Donald J. Trump's post on Truth Social, I believe. And it says here, Trump says BRICS countries will face 100% tariffs if they dare to create a new currency to replace the mighty U.S. dollar. Once again, mighty U.S. dollar, this same instrument here that's lost 98% of its purchasing power and is operating on mere fumes of which is definitely going to be eviscerated within the next 12 to 24 months. Mighty dollar? Okay, let's keep it going. So give you an idea here. It says here, this is him, or this is from his account rather. Not sure if this is exactly him or his economic advisors or whoever might be running his accounts, but it says the idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty U.S. dollar, or they'll face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful U.S. economy. Okay, so let me just process this bit by bit, line by line. The idea that BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by it and watch is over. Okay, what does that actually mean? Stand by and actually watch. This guy can't be serious. I've been talking about the word de-dollarization now, even during his presidency. And as I go through my catalog to see exactly when I start talking about that and creating videos on that, here's one of the very first videos I did back in 2017 called The World is Creeping Towards De-dollarization. And during that time, I talked about every time that President Xi and Putin met and shook hands for about the 20th or 30th time, they were planning on and talking about moving away from the dollar-centered universe. And so all of a sudden now, come President Trump's second term, he's talking about pushing back against the de-dollarization process. Clearly to me, something smells fishy. And that's why I want to share my 2 cents on this. And so the idea of moving away from the dollar is nothing new at all. It's just amazing how, as of his second term now, it's becoming important to talk about it and then to threaten nations, such as the BRICS Union, that there will be consequences to pay if they decide to move away from the dollar. And then the next line, it says, we require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty U.S. dollar, or they'll face 100% terror. Once again, it's a little too late to talk about the idea of creating a new BRICS currency when it's good to say that they've already built out the infrastructure for an alternative currency. And even if it's not the new currency that they're going to promote, they've already chosen to use bilateral trade agreements where they're using their actual currencies for trade rather than relying upon anything denominated in the U.S. terms. Once again, as a sovereign nation, isn't it your right to be able to use your currency the way that you see fit when it comes to doing financial transactions for your own people, rather than being forced to use a currency that has become the weapon of the Western banking and globalist cabal? Just things to make you wonder. And then you talk about you're going to add tariffs on top of everybody who chooses to do such at 100%. Could you imagine being taxed excessively with the same exact currency that has been a threat to you well before now, through the idea of being sanctioned or cut off from the SWIFT system well before now? And he expects countries to sit by and take this idea of 100% tax or tariff as it will be considered. And then the next part here about say goodbye to selling into the world and to the wonderful U.S. economy sounds a little bit extreme, given the fact that right now, every single item that is on the shelves in every store you go to is from another country. And then you consider those same items that are on our shelves in this country are made in the Eastern Hemisphere, i.e. in Asia more than likely, and those same countries are right now attempting to apply for the BRICS conglomerate, which once again means that ours will be bare because everybody's mother will rather receive something in payment that they can actually trust, and that doesn't pose a threat to them actually holding them for too long, either through losing it from debasement or from being cut off from using those instruments if they're in the Western banking system. And then it says here, they can go find another sucker. There is no chance that the BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to America. It's sad to say that in times past, I would have been 100% for this, but given the fact that we are literally living on borrowed time, and I literally mean borrowed time, to the tune of about percent or pennies worth of time, given the idea that I do believe that in the next 6 to 12 months, there will be some type of event that will force Donald Trump's hand, and the only way he's going to respond is the way that every single president on his list has always responded whenever a crisis hits. They borrow, spend, and flood the world with dollars. So once again, if he plans on accomplishing that by threatening the rest of the world on what they can and can't do in the best interest of their own countries, then I believe this country's in far greater danger than a lot of people be willing to admit. Because once again, even I, as a citizen of this country, have no confidence in our currency, given the fact that the Federal Reserve note has become the greatest liability that anyone can hold on to, given the fact that these are debt IOUs backed by nothing and bound to fail like every other fiat currency that's ever been created. So once again, I find it's odd that Donald Trump is out here threatening the world, given the fact that we need the world to continue to accept our debt, or else. Because I don't think for one bit that the idea of this Doge program is actually going to be able to live up to its hype by cutting at least $2 trillion of planned spending in time before the next big event hits. And even if they were to cut off $2 trillion, there's no way that they'll be able to get the U.S. federal debt to GDP ratio down beneath 100% in time to actually make a difference. And then you factor in that we have over $221 trillion worth of unfunded liabilities that they can't even begin to talk about dealing with. But in my personal opinion, this isn't so much about saving the dollar as it is keeping the American people as well as the rest of the world moving away from the Federal Reserve liabilities and complete confidence in the Federal Reserve system and the American political structure in and of itself being done away with on the global stage. Because at the end of the day, the de-dollarization process will continue because there's no way you can hide the importance of gold and silver as a true anchor of stability in a changing world. And then you factor in all the manipulation and fraud to the metals as a result of U.S. market manipulation. And then you have figures such as this, where you have the dollar to silver ratio at 1,071 per ounce, and then a dollar to gold ratio now at $7,800 per ounce. Those are type of numbers you can't ignore. And that's all because of the Western market manipulation when it comes to the futures and the fraudulent behavior of the bullion banks when it comes to those contracts. As you can see here, where the paper to silver ratio is now 410 contracts to 1 ounce of silver. For gold, the paper to gold ratio is 132 to 1 ounce of gold. So in my opinion, instead of crying about nations choosing to protect themselves to try to keep our dollar-centric economy in operations, I think it might be worthwhile to come clean and tell the American people what actual plans are for our monetary system outside the Federal Reserve System. And of course, that would include gold and silver being a part of that equation, and not lead the American people astray as well as the rest of the world and thinking that a Bitcoin reserve is going to save our economy and put American back on the right path to financial sovereignty. But once again, this is just my 2 cents on the matter. Curious to hear what you guys think. Clearly, this whole idea of trying to make America great again, to me, is one big hype train that was enough to get him into office as of now, but it's not going to be enough to keep him in office and to make our country prosperous again, in my personal opinion. But then again, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But once again, I'm not willing to bet on Donald Trump actually being able to accomplish anything near what he promised the American people when he achieved his victory on November 5th. Because once again, if he can't put no more purchasing power in my pocket, I'm going to take everything he said with a grain of salt. But that's just my personal opinion. And that's why I always encourage people to create your own standard, because you can't depend upon your government or rely upon a president to protect and preserve everything you worked hard for. And that's why, in my humble opinion, creating your own gold standard should definitely be something people consider, given the fact that these 24-karat gold notes here retain purchasing power and have intrinsic value that will last you a lot longer than any promises the president can make. And so if you guys are interested in finding out more about these gold notes here, go to buygoldnotes.com or just click the link in the description and get more information for yourself. And then as always, if you guys want to get involved in a silver business directly for yourself and start your own silver bullion, then consider becoming a member of the Silver Team, where you get a chance to get your own store to buy products from yourself and get discounts on it, and then take your information and share with other people so that they also can get silver and gold products as a way to protect and preserve themselves. So once again, if you guys are interested in finding out more about this, then click the link in the description, go to mysilverteam.com and connect with me and find out how to set up your own store so you can become your own dealer and become the change you want to see in the world by helping people secure 1 ounce at a time. But anyway, just share my 2 cents. Curious to hear what you guys think. If you found value, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, share this, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.